Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday to all. Have a great week. Today is the 24th of February. I'm going to start this video here to update the current market scenario and the upcoming movements we might see. We have a market that looks quite similar to the markets from previous weeks. We haven't had many updates or interesting movements, but I believe that this week we might see some action there. It's interesting that the market will probably break out of this range to this accumulation range. So looking at Ethereum, right? Initially, what we have with Ethereum is a pretty significant accumulation. Let's say it's a pretty localized accumulation, okay? We've had very little liquidity sweep here. For now, it has actually accumulated more than the market. So ideally, we would sweep the liquidity. So the IRL, the daily range, is internal for us to mitigate 0.79 of Fibonacci, which is in the threat 100 region, right? And start a downward movement after sweeping this liquidity. This would be a very interesting area. We have a previous order block here, also above this region. We have our key weekly level, which is in the region from 3,200, and there's an order block, right? From the daily, it's between 3,200 and 3,440. However, here, I believe that if the market sweeps this internal liquidity here, we could just mitigate 0.79 of Fibonacci and start the downward movement, okay? It would be a good opportunity. On the buying side, what can we observe here? We can see that Bitcoin hasn't swept the liquidity from the previous week yet, okay? And it has accumulated more liquidity, right? In the format of a micro uptrend line here, right? For many, it would be a flag, but for me, it's just an accumulation range, even though the retail usually accumulates buy trades, placing the stop loss below these regions. So we need to be really attentive to this, and then we can see the price doing the following. We can see the price sweeping this liquidity, mitigating our key daily level to start the upward movement. Our key daily level is in the 203.5 region, 2355, okay? So we could have this manipulation deviation here to start the upward movement. My view for Ethereum for now is this. Until it sweeps liquidity, I don't have another view, not yet. The market doesn't give us a clear perspective. Within an accumulation range, Bitcoin is as follows. Last week, Bitcoin gave us the opportunity to take a long position in the 93,500 region. In fact, I shared this position with you. Since Bitcoin's dominance is quite strong, Bitcoin is having a bit more difficulty dropping compared to some altcoins, right? We already have altcoins that are looking pretty negative. However, we don't have a clear short opportunity like this. Some altcoins know, but Bitcoin, what do we have here that we can observe? This long setup that we took, we managed to catch it here. 2.5 is okay, but our final target would be the internal liquidity of the daily range. So ideally, the price would sweep this thing here. Oh, it mitigated the daily order block and made the downward movement. That would be the ideal movement for Bitcoin to continue the downward trend. How Bitcoin failed to sweep. The internal liquidity, but the higher internal liquidity that we have, it managed to sweep some liquidity, and it even changed the character on the 30-minute chart. But on the daily chart, we can also notice this by the wick. But what can we see here for Bitcoin? We can see the following. Bitcoin sweeps the liquidity of the low from 2 weeks ago and the liquidity of the low from the previous month. If it makes this movement, I believe it will mitigate the weekly POI. Our weekly POI. I'm going to switch to the daily chart, which will give us a clearer view because this range is very small. Well, so what happens? I believe that if Bitcoin makes this downward movement, which it probably will because we have a lot of liquidity to be swept, we could see Bitcoin mitigating the region between 84,000 and 82,000. It would be between 84,800 and 81,600. So the first step for us is buying Bitcoin, mainly in the spot market, because there is a lot of liquidity to be swept up here in this lower part. It's the same way that there's a lot of liquidity to be swept in this accumulation. On the upper side, we would take a short position between 103,900 and 106,000. It's another interesting region, but for now we have a Bitcoin that's very much accumulated. It's been about 3 weeks now that it's been accumulating non-stop. So we stay there.